You might wonder why I'm taking a few minutes to discuss the difference between Salesforce and more traditional development. Why is it so important? My goal here is to lay the foundation for you, as there may come a time when you press on to write code outside Salesforce. Or there might be some important moments in your career where you'll need to understand how and why a variety of solutions fit together. Let me start with dedicated compute, which is to really say a single server or a single computer where you have full ownership of its computing resources. If the platform you're developing on is your own computer, including the one many of us carry in our pockets, known as a smartphone, management of resources is your choice alone. No one but you demands what programs are running on your device. All the same, just because you have full control over your device says nothing about whether or not it is capable of doing what you ask it. With freedom to control comes the reveal of risk. Is there power in total management of resources on a given server or computer? Certainly. But what's the trade-off? The dangers are significantly higher. What about Salesforce? What about multi-tenancy, this notion that multiple Salesforce orgs are all living together on a single server? You might have some reduced capability in some cases. But with that also comes reduced risk. The reason is that you're using a platform that's been designed by expert engineers. They've worked through most of the hurdles you'd encounter if you were building on a dedicated computing server or computer yourself. Moreover, they've figured out how to not only keep the environment safe and running well, but they've managed to do that for everyone who shares those resources. Still, this leads back to the scope of Salesforce's capabilities. Salesforce can do a lot, but it is easily seen as less than a generalized compute platform. Salesforce is a platform with a purpose. To finalize this concept in your mind, let's compare dedicated servers with Salesforce, the multi-tenant environment. With dedicated compute, you control everything. CPU speed could be improved if you have faster processors, or more cores of power you could add. You'd just install that hardware. On the other hand, you have zero control over the CPU speed that runs on Salesforce. Salesforce manages that for you. They choose what kind of processors to use for their data centers, and you never think about it. If you need more random access memory, or RAM, just install it on the dedicated computing platforms. Well, is there RAM to speak of on Salesforce? No, not really. The closest thing we may have is the total heap size in each transaction. At least, that's what we think about. It certainly ties back to RAM somewhere, but again, with Salesforce, you're never thinking about it. What about storage space? Just install a hard drive on a server. But Salesforce? Every org gets a certain amount of space, and beyond that, your organization would have to purchase more storage space from Salesforce. It can't exactly be said that Salesforce manages this for you, as how would they really? It's one of the only areas in which they can't funnel you a certain direction because, well, at some point, your organization may just need more data storage space. How about who accesses a database server? Sure, that's configurable in dedicated compute with most relational databases out there. With Salesforce, yes, that's configurable as well through the platform's user system and its security model. But note that this is qualitative, not quantitative. That said, if you need to add more users for dedicated compute, you could configure that yourself. In the case of Salesforce, that's handled through user licenses. If there is any backend configuration for adding more users, Salesforce again manages that for you. Or how about adding the capability to run more queries or long-running queries simultaneously on a dedicated compute platform? Well, that's your choice. With Salesforce, you're limited to whatever constraints they've placed on their own database system. Overall, the primary notion here is that with few exceptions, Salesforce is managing these resources and how much they consume at any one time. You're detached from these traditional concepts of hard drive space, memory storage, or processor speed. This is a different paradigm to consider if you've come from other, more conventional technologies. As you press on, try to keep this general idea in the back of your mind. With that, I've mentioned a lot about the importance of database transaction limits. I'll explain more about what you'll need to watch for there and how we'll dig deeper into that throughout this course in the next clip.